Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Chairperson.
The time is just 1 minute to 9 o'clock. And I would like to welcome you to the meeting and declare it officially open. Today we are engaging with SALGA, which would be the last entity as part of the program that we were engaging with. So I would like to welcome the President of SALGA, Councillor Stoffile, the CEO of SALGA, Mr. Mbanga, and the COO, Mr. Lance Joel. So those are our guests. And honorable members, Portfolio Committee Secretary, any apologies?
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, everybody. Yes, Chairperson, we received an apology from Honorable Opperman that won't be able to attend the meeting as she's attending another Portfolio Committee meeting. And then Honorable Spies will be joining the meeting late as she's still traveling to Cape Town. And Chairperson, we do have a quorum for the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The agenda, the honorable members, is the annual report of SALGA for 2022-23. As already indicated, they are just the last entity that reports to the Department of Cooperative Governance. Honorable President, can I hand over to you? It will depend on you. I know there are two presentations. Let's start with the annual report. Over to you, President.
Thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to, I hope I'm audible.
You are audible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. It's always exciting on our side as South African Local Government Association to interact with the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to account on the task performed since the last report that we have presented to the committee. You will realize that at the time when we present the report, there were a number of activities that have taken place, including the activities pertaining to Auditor General work and the report that we have received from the AG insofar as performance of municipalities. And the work that the SALGA has been seized since receival of the Auditor General's report and the concern that Auditor General raised insofar as performance information that municipalities did not manage it very well. And the work that SALGA has developed since then in trying to deal and help municipalities to at least to have a better audit outcome going into the next audit cycle. And we met at the time, Chair, when local government is facing multiple challenges of hostile takeover of functions of municipalities by those that believe that they can perform the functions better, yet no capacity whatsoever. As it has been seen in the Section 139 interventions that has happened to take place in various municipalities. A case in point is an Mfuleni, where it has been under administration, under the leadership of other spheres, but Mfuleni has never seen the light of the day. And this confirms our long call as SALGA that government as a whole, as a single entity, it had to learn to work collaboratively and coordinate its activities in a manner that it will satisfy the interest of shareholders of reference, and in this case is communities in the Republic of South Africa. And SALGA has been seized with this work, and SALGA has been lobbying and trying to engage those that are involved in the sector so that we can page from the same page insofar as what is expected out of us as government in rendering service to our communities as a unit, not as a different spheres, but as a unit, because voters voted us all into government to change their lives, and therefore our ability of working collaboratively and coordinating our efforts can make significant impact to lives of our people. So SALGA has been seized with that work, and we are happy at least is showing some results, that there is some realizations somewhere in other quarters that municipalities cannot succeed without working together with provincial and national government in rendering these services to our community. So your committee is convening us after we had a successful national members assemble, where members have reflecting on challenges that they are facing. I think the committee is aware of the uproar that happened in Swellendam in the recent past, communities banning the municipal the building, and communities, because they are unhappy with the increases that are coming and beginning to hit them hard, and the challenges that municipalities are facing, it becomes so complex in dealing with them. So we are meeting with you, leadership, immediately after we've just learned recently, once again, of what we have been calling as SALGA, that the Parliament of the Republic, the executive and everybody must take a particular moment to reflect on the killing of councillors, municipal officials, traditional leaders. And we have learned with shock in the recent past, killing of a councillor in the Western Cape and killing of an official of a municipality in the Eastern Cape. And then we are seeing a rising number of killing of councillors and officials in KwaZulu-Natal, just below 2 years since the office, since the period of the current councillors being in office. So councillors generally, they are facing difficulties and challenges. And our call as SALGA, and that is why we are happy that today the committee have give SAFI some time to consider this issue. Because our view, Chair, is that a killing of a councillor, an official, a traditional leader, is a threat to democracy. And can you believe, as we are engaged as SALGA and driving the program of professionalization, who is the professional that is going to accept to work in the municipality, whereas the municipal environment is not safe? And that is why it is our interest that we need to find a way to have a conversation about this and bring this to an end, because it threatens the democracy, it threatens the government standing in society. In fact, by the way, I've even said in some quarters, we are gravitating towards a mafia state, a gang state, a state that is controlled by gangs, individuals walking freely in the public meetings with automatic rifles, threatening the community, threatening the council. If we are not putting an end to this, really, there will be no state, there will be no government that will render service to our people. And that is why we are so happy that today the committee at least created an opportunity for us to reflect on this, and also how do we work going forward. In the report, we are going to get what the task and the work that we have done over the last 12 months up to today, and what we are seized to do going into the future, and trying to reflect, of course, on the difficulties that we are facing, but we believe through collaborative efforts, we can be able to turn the corner. Local government had to turn the tide, because local government is everybody's business. It's not only for councillors or communities. in the manner in which local government is made to participate everyone that has an interest to see progress, interest to see development, and that is why you are saying local government is everybody's business. And we are happy that to interact with the committee, and we are really appreciative of the moment. And Lance, who's going to walk us through into our presentation. And thank you very much, Chair, for the moment that you have given to us.
Very much. Lance?
Well, good morning, Honorable Chairperson, and also greetings to all of the members of the Portfolio Committee, and the SALGA leadership, administration. Chairperson, just to indicate upfront, we did give you a presentation that is 88 slides, but based on the time that is allocated to us for this presentation, I am going to skip some of the slides, but you do have the detail so that we do manage the time that you've allocated to us, but at the same breath also cover key aspects of the SALGA annual report. The annual report presentation covers all of these aspects that is outlined in the detail.
It looks like there's a problem with your connection. I don't know if there's anything you can be able to do.
Let me do something, Chair. Is that better, Chairperson?
That's better.
Much better. Okay, thank you very much, and apologies for that. As is required by the legislation, as SALGA, we are to keep full records, prepare annual financial statements, subject that to auditing, and all of that has been done in this particular financial year, such that we are able to present this annual report to yourselves, which include aspects of the non-financial as well as the financial performance of the organization. Just as a reminder to members of the Portfolio Committee, these 6 pillars cover the 6 mandates of the organization, which is to lobby, advocate, and represent the interest of local government, act as the employer body on behalf of all municipalities, build the capacity of municipalities, provide advisory and support to municipalities, and also build the capacity in terms of profiling of municipalities, and lastly, creating platforms for knowledge and information sharing. That mandate of SALGA must be seen in the context of what is in the center of the slide, the constitutional objects of local government, as it is outlined in the Constitution of the Republic. There is a clear link between those constitutional objectives and what is required from SALGA as a representative voice. The first is outlined in the Constitution of the Republic, allowing SALGA the space and opportunity to engage at a national and provincial level with government, but also to participate in the NCOP and nominate representatives to the FFC. There are also legislative obligations placed on us through the Systems Act, and the 4 obligations are outlined in the slide. There are also obligations emerging from the guidance given by the white paper on local government on what is the expectations of SALGA as a representative voice of local government. And lastly, in terms of the IGR Framework Act, there's also an expectation that the organization should represent local government in the different structures that are created within the intergovernmental space. So the mandate of SALGA must be seen within that context, that we are to assist in the transformation of local government holistically so that it meets its objectives, but also respond to the obligations that have been placed through different pieces of legislation and policies on the organization. When we presented last year to the Portfolio Committee the strategic plan for the next 5 years of SALGA, we did indicate that between 2022 up to 2027, there are 6 outcomes that anchors the SALGA strategic plan. The first outcome, which is really an internally focused outcome, is looking at creating a SALGA as an agile force of influence, meaning that we have geared ourselves, and how are we going to gear ourselves to be able to execute the 5 externally focused outcomes, which focuses on customized innovative solutions, capable and reputable local government, effective networks and intergovernmental relations, inclusive socio-economic return, and then lastly, developmental local government for global competitiveness. So those are the 6 outcomes that would find expression in the SALGA plans at least until the end of 2027. And when we report to the Portfolio Committee, we do draw a link between our performance and the 6 outcomes that are anchored in the strategic plan of SALGA. For the year under review, we, as I've said, subjected ourselves to the Auditor General's audit, and this is the outcome as communicated by the Auditor General, confirming that indeed SALGA has adhered to all of the processes, and the AG is confirming that our financial statements fairly represent the position of the organization, and for the 11th year consecutively, giving SALGA a clean audit. In terms of the non-financial performance, the AG also confirmed that SALGA achieved 98% of the 55 predetermined objectives. So 2 objectives have not been achieved for the year, and it translates into a single target that has not been achieved for the year. And this 22-23 year is an improvement from the previous year, where we secured 92% performance. We are now sitting at 98% performance audited by the AG. The comparatively speaking, across the 6 outcomes in the strategic plan of SALGA, you will then see from the slide where we have not been able to achieve that one target. It is under outcome 5, inclusive socioeconomic return. There's the one out of the 14 targets that we were not able to achieve there. But on all of the other outcomes, we were able to achieve the targets that were set at the start of the financial year. Just an indication, over the 11 consecutive clean orders that we have achieved, the non-financial performance, you can see for the 11 years, with the exception of 2 years, the 2012, 2013, and 2020, 2021 financial years, we generally achieved above the 90% performance on the predetermined targets. Linked to the outcomes, I've already covered this. The one outcome 5 has not been achieved there. Others have been achieved. When we presented earlier this year in April to the Portfolio Committee, we indicated that we have anchored our annual performance plan on 5 programs. The programs are listed on the slide, and when you then juxtapose our performance for the year, you would see the one target we were not able to achieve links to the multi-sectoral support program, where we direct multidisciplinary support to municipalities, but we were able to achieve the rest as indicated on the slide. Again, putting it across the 6 mandates of SALGA, the one target that we were not able to achieve is linked to mandate 6, the support and advice target, and we were able to achieve all of the other targets that were set against the remaining mandates. What flows in the next few slides, Chairperson and honorable members, is just an indication against the respective mandates. I'm just going to highlight some of the key areas of performance, starting with the mandate that deals with lobby advocacy and representing SALGA, which is linked to outcome 3 of our strategic plan. And here we can highlight that we have been a regular participant across the legislatures, both at the national and at the provincial level. During this year, we have developed a number of position papers, which we then use to advocate across the different structures that we participate in. And what we've also highlighted in each of the slides where we report progress is what has been the impact of that particular achievement against the target. Similarly, on the global competitiveness target linked to outcome 6, we were also able to quite successfully lobby National Treasury for an upward improvement in the allocation to local government, which ultimately assists with the accelerated improvement on service delivery. On the municipal regulatory environment and institutional capacity front, on triple Ps, we were able to strengthen relations that support economic development through conducting a study and submitting that study with recommendations to existing structures so that we're able to influence the form and shape and thinking around triple Ps within the local government context. Similarly, on the global competitiveness front, under disaster management, an area that continues to be developed at the local government level, particularly because we are not, while when the impact comes, it is felt at the local government level, and in many of the instances, funding remains a difficulty in responding to disaster management challenges. But in the space, what we have done is that we have lobbied relevant role players such as COCTA and Treasury to ensure that we include environmental health functions in the review of the criteria that links to IDPs and the SDBIPs. And we felt that that would have a greater impact on resourcing municipalities, but also ensuring that we also increase the competency and capacity within our space to respond to disaster, fire services, and environmental related functions. Also, following through from what happened yesterday, the discussion led by the Department of Home Affairs on migration, we have also done quite extensive work in this space in the last financial year in trying to address migration-related challenges so that there's a more improved coordination of government's response to these challenges. And we've developed a discussion document on the impact of migration. We have hosted a national seminar, and we have also entered into agreements that will solidify the work that we collectively do with others, with strategic partners, in ensuring that there is greater support towards the integration of migrants within the local spaces. In the context of our mandate as the employer body, a core mandate that we have been given as an organization, there are quite a few things that we have done in this space. On the municipal capability assessment, we have developed a capability assessment tool and administered it in 13 of our municipalities, where we're able to assess the capability of those municipalities to be able to respond to the expectations. We have also, on the collective bargaining front, ensured that we sustain labor peace within our space in solidifying the collective agreement that was entered into with the unions. On the disciplinary matters, we were able to assist 75 municipalities in disciplinary hearings, arbitrations, conciliations, and there were also 2 labor court matters that we were seized with in the financial year 2022-2023. Also, because this is a matter that municipalities are seized with, particularly at the start of every term, In the last year, we had assisted municipalities, 61 of them, in reviewing their organograms so that they are able to gear themselves up in this new term to be more responsive to their mandate. So that support was given to municipalities in the year. Professionalization of local government remains a high priority for SALGA as an organization. It remains a high priority for the sector. So there is a lot of work that has gone into moving towards professionalization of the local government. And we hosted a number of events. We had a seminar, we had an indaba. We assisted 36 municipalities to recruit and vet candidates through our competency assessment center. We also offered psychometric evaluations that would assist municipalities in identifying the right candidates to join the sector. It's an area, Chairperson, that we are quite passionate about, and an area that we will continue to focus on as SALGA. On the capacity building front, we have rolled out training, 24 training programs across municipalities. We have trained, as you would see there, just over 5,500 municipal officials. We have trained just under 4,000 councillors and just over 1,500 municipal officials that participated in our training programs. Under the support and advice mandate, I've already covered this, so I'm not going to repeat the maturity assessment, but this is more focusing on digital. So we have conducted 66 maturity assessment on the municipal digital front, ensuring that municipalities are better geared to use and tap into the necessary technologies that exist in our space, so that we are more geared in responding to improving service delivery. On the governance front, Chairperson and members, we remain functional at the governance front, continue to participate in the NCOP and its related processes internally within the organization. The structures that have been created through the SALGA Constitution remain functional. On the internal controls front, particularly focusing on internal audit, remains a functional area of focus in the organization. Our audit committees, performance and remuneration panel remain functional as an organization. On the HR front, Chairperson, this is the picture of the staff complement of SALGA for the financial year. To note that the staff complement increased by just over 18%, and it's largely due to intake of graduates. We have a graduates program, but also filling vacancies that have been created as per the approved structure of the organization. That staff complement finds expression across the 10 offices that SALGA has in the country. We have also conducted a culture survey to test ourselves whether there are areas that we need to improve on, and generally doing well on this front, for the exception of one area where we felt that we need to improve around that area, so that there's continuous improvement in ensuring that we have an appropriate culture within SALGA to be responsive to its mandate. On the financial front, Chairperson, I'm nearing the end of this presentation. Key highlights is that I've already said this: 11 consecutive clean audits for the organization. For the year under review, we have decreased our operational surplus, comparatively speaking, to the previous year by just under 60%. We have increased our operating revenue by 7% for the year, and this is largely due to inflationary adjustments, but also the growth that we see in membership levies, which I will touch on shortly. But we have also increased our operating expenditure by just over 32%, and it's largely linked to the increase in activity post-COVID, if we compare that with the previous financial year. But also we've been able to achieve the related targets that have been set for the year, increasing by 6%. And then lastly, our net operating revenue has also increased to just under 60 million. And it's largely due to bank interest increases that we have received due to the availability of cash within the accounts of SALGA. The revenue distribution, essentially you can see here, Chairperson and honourable members, we remain dependent on members, meaning municipalities, to financially fund the organization and keep it financially sustainable. 91% for both of the years have been our revenue from municipalities. The remainder are transfers that we receive, non-exchange transactions, as I said earlier, and other revenue, which is donor funding, etc., that largely focuses on international programs. When we juxtapose our revenue against our expenditure, this is the picture that emerges, is that our program costs across the 5 programs that we have in the organization remains the area that gets the most allocation. So in the previous year, we allocated 66%, in the current year, 58%. And then we have also, you can see for the remainder, employee-related costs, the depreciation costs, and then the administrative overheads to run the respective 10 offices that we have within the organization. So that's essentially the operating expenditure distribution for the organization. And with that, Chairperson, I think I have rushed through it. That is the end of our presentation. I hope that we have not taken too much of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And I think the President has actually read the agenda properly, in that we will not discuss in between the 2 presentations. By commenting on the killings of councillors in the country, we wanted to be updated on this by yourselves, because it was raised by SALGA sharply, I think a year ago. And we were also shocked when we noticed that there are some people who are making it their task now to kill councillors. Now, on top of that, traditional leaders, as already indicated, as well as officials. But when we issued a statement, some members from the portfolio committee indicated that, why are we choosing this one, not that other one? And I think we then decided we must have this full picture. If it is not full now, at least it will come closer to giving us a picture of what is happening. And so I would like, President, again, if you left out anything before you indicate who is going to take us through that presentation. Over to you, Councillor Stoffile.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity once again. I must say, we really appreciate as association that at long last the committee set aside a moment to reflect on the challenge that is faced. As we said earlier on, this challenge, if it is not dealt with by those that's supposed to deal with, is going to pose a serious challenge for government to operate in South Africa. A challenge that I coined it as the possibilities of gangs, mafias, and groups take over the function that's supposed to be performed by government. As you know, Chair, there is no service delivery that can be rendered by national government anywhere else in the air. All services find expression in local government. And that is why you see projects that are developed by the Department of Transport, the 30% group standing up with firearms. And you'll know this, it happened in the Eastern Cape, it happened in the Mpumalanga and other areas throughout the country, demanding that there is no project that is going to take place here without this project coming through us. Who's us? Should government subject itself to thuggery, and that threatens the life of individuals that are given a responsibility by law to render service? So this is the issue that we have been seeing emerging in our communities. And I think members of the Portfolio Committee, they will remember this vividly clear. A moment where Auditor General at one point went and intervened in a Tekwini municipality. In the intervention of the Auditor General, it became clear in the public domain, as it was said by the Auditor General, that the officials of the Auditor General were intimidated to perform their duty. And it was a matter that was brought to public, and the public was made aware, and I believe members of the Portfolio Committee will remember that. Now, the recent past development, Chair, it's uncalled for, really. For 2 years since the local government elections in 2021, over 40 councillors in KwaZulu-Natal alone has been mowed down like flies. And to the extent that it threatened the social cohesion that the government of the Republic is driving. And I believe, as it has been adopted by Parliament itself, that people must learn to live and work and socialize together. One outstanding issue out of that is for killers to go and kill a councillor in a church whilst the councillor is praying. And this gives a bold view from the thieves and thuggery that is taking place to go to tavern and kill people. Because we allow that to happen when we have said nothing, when officers of state, because a councillor is an officer of state, he or she is expected by the state to perform the duties that are assigned to the state and delegated to him or her to perform that task. And if it goes to a point that it even kills the instruments of state, which is our operatives, in a form of municipal managers, officials working in the municipality, a case at hand is a case of Buffalo City in the recent past, which is not the first and the only one that has happened over a period of time. A person that has been employed by the municipality to render service through infrastructure and make sure that the infrastructure that is laid down is beneficiary of the residents in that area, and be mowed down and be killed. And you can go to Limpopo and many other examples that are happening. And what we are seeing, Chair, and this is it might be it's a level where I am. Others that are living anywhere else, they are not seeing it. Maybe they will see it when it visits them in one way or another, or visit their families. I'm saying before it visit anyone, it's a responsibility of government, of the people, and parliament of the people to design processes in responding to challenges that are faced by citizens. Otherwise, citizens, they won't be having any appetite to go and vote. And it is real, Chair. You can go to any study, will tell you that if you kill a police person, you kill an officer of state, and you reduce the trust level to the state will be defunct and the state will collapse. And this is the trend that we are seeing that is happening. And that is why probably we are seeing number of challenges that are happening in the local government. But I think Lance and the team can walk you through within the next 5 or 10 minutes, but at a higher level in terms of our assessment generally in the country, and is a very worrying issue. I'm raising this, Chair, because in the Presidential Coordinating Council, a premier, can you imagine that a premier of a province in the Eastern Cape was complaining about a bridge that had to be built in a municipality in the Eastern Cape in his province. And the bridge, it cannot be built or completed because the thugs, through big rifles, going and attending public meetings. We are calling us, the parliament is saying councillors are not calling meetings. How will councillor call a meeting when that councillor, as he attempt to interact with his constituency, there are people that are walking with the big rifles, automatic rifles, as if they're in the military base in a community, small rural communities, is happening daily in the Eastern Cape, daily in Mpumalanga, daily in Limpopo, daily in KwaZulu-Natal, is the order of the day. And it should be a concern to Parliament. It should be a concern to citizens of South Africa, asking their government to consider different extraordinary measures in dealing and capping this. Otherwise, is a threat. And this threat is real, and this threat is eroding government, is eroding up capability of government to render service to people, and therefore threatens people to be available when they are asked to be elected. And tomorrow, if this is not addressed, people will never accept to be elected in offices where their lives are going to be threatened and they're going to be killed. And what will be the type of democracy and state that we are busy building? So we are raising this, Chair, within that context, and probably Lance can walk us through maybe on the 3, 4, 5 areas in the general assessment that we are having with regard to killing. I'm saying this is our concern really that we're facing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Lance?
Thank you very much once more, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, the SALGA president has covered key aspects of the presentation. I should just indicate, Chair, together with this presentation, we also favored the Portfolio Committee with a list of councillors that have been killed over the last what is now 22 months since the elections. So the detail is in that separate document, but it should be noted it is from the elections in November 2021, and this is concerning to us, but the detail will emerge from the presentation itself. We are still awaiting updated figures from the Eastern Cape. We had figures yesterday, Chair, but there were other developments that we felt should be included, so we will update the document on the Eastern Cape details, which includes an incident that happened, well, 2 incidents that happened last week. So this is the picture that is emerging, and it includes both municipal officials and councillors that have been killed. So we are sitting at this stage across nationally 23 incidents of killings, and it affects 17 municipalities, meaning, Chairperson, there are municipalities, there are 6 of them where there has been more than 1 incident. So in Mpumalanga, for instance, you would see from the detailed list, in one municipality there have been 2 2 killings. In KZN, you find that there are municipalities, 5 of them, which includes eThekwini. eThekwini has already 3 incidents of killings. That has more, so 5 municipalities in KZN that has more than one councillor having been killed. We identify the problem statement by linking it to what is emerging in the media space, Chairperson, and there we are highlighting, just out of thousands that we could have chosen, we are just highlighting what are appearing as headlines in newspapers. In September, the headlines were that more than 300 councillors killed. Ramaphosa concerned about past few years deeply disturbing attacks. Again in September, headline that says death toll at 21 after order of KZN councillor. The 21 July headline says murder in the municipalities. That's a headline you find on the lamppost as you drive. And then in October, a headline that says, as a local government hit list. And what it creates a sense of crisis. And perhaps that sense of crisis is correct, because we are in the public space. There is no other sphere that is as affected as local government itself. And for SALGA, we have been concerned about this for years. And this has resulted, Chairperson, in SALGA having already conducted 2 studies, one in 2016, one in 2018, and we will share both of those detailed reports with yourselves. But what both those studies confirmed is that the violence that is occurring is spread across the country. Of course, there are provinces where it is more intense, but it is a reality that finds expression across all of the provinces, and that it threatens democracy and effectively hampers the delivery of services. When we look at the studies that were conducted, the studies confirm that there are a number of strategies that are followed by protesters, and they sometimes run parallel. And here is just some pictures of real instances where protests, for instance, have flared up, because on the one side we see the killings, on the other we see protests and violence directed against both municipal staff and officials. But we have seen at the core of this, in many instances, is that there have been many attempts to engage. Those attempts have been fruitless in engaging with officials, and people then run they take their frustrations out at a local level. We've also seen, parallel to this, a number of litigation that have been initiated against municipalities across the country, whether it is for the taking over of the function by another sphere of government, whether it is taking over the function by ESCOM through electricity, or whether it is through taking over of water by the water boards. We have also seen sustained disruption. We have seen many preferring to burn and destroy municipal assets in a way of showing their frustration. Many have indicated that voting helps, but violence works. So resorting to violence seems to be the answer to many of the difficulties that are being experienced. But what we have also seen is that many of these protests are happening at the drop of a penny, literally organized overnight, and in the morning there is chaos in the many areas across the country. Our studies have also confirmed that when we look at, in particular, the protests related to councillors and directed towards councillors, is that it is in many instances informed by a rivalry between councillors themselves as elected officials and community-based leaders, so those that are either leading organized formations of communities, whether it is those that are leading organized formations of business, etc., etc. But there is usually that rivalry that we find within the local space. We have also seen that in many of these instances, the protests and violence that followed from the protests are really also directed at undermining the current councillor within that area, particularly the ward councillor in that area. And there we see pictures where ward councillors themselves, actual examples in Utenake and Tanzania, in Buffalo City, that have where councillors' homes have been attacked, and the nature of the attack varies, but they find themselves the subject of attack and are the most vulnerable public office bearers, and largely because they live amongst communities that they serve, and they are easy targets in those communities. We have seen that reports have been, many instances have been reported by councillors, but no one is listening. So this indicates to us where the councillors themselves are saying that they are under threat, both in their person, but also their property. And women in particular are being threatened. Not only themselves, but even the extended family are being threatened because of them being councillors. And this is of concern. And what shows there is the types of threats that we have seen directed against, in particular, councillors. We have also indicated to you, emerging from our study, that violence tends to peak running up to the election. So you can see here the spikes that we see. This was for the period up to 2018. Based on our 2018 study, you can see there just before the 2011 elections, spike in the destruction of property and tax on councillors. 2016, similarly, spike leading up to the 2016 and even immediately after the 2016 elections. But we have also seen that there is an increase in the number of by-elections. Already this term alone, we've had a number of by-elections as a result of deaths of councillors, but also resignation of councillors who felt that they can no longer cope with the threats that they have to deal with in their respective areas. So I will skip that slide. What all of this confirms, Chairperson, both the studies that are conducted by SALGA, is that the nature of the attacks themselves is happening both at councillors' homes, but also at their offices. We have also seen instances where councillors, beyond themselves being affected, even their families are affected, where families are being held up at their homes. We have seen the extortion of money from councillors. We have seen, as the president has indicated, extortion against the overall leadership within a municipality by organized formations. We have seen the intimidation from gangsters on building projects. We have also seen threats against those that want to act against wrongdoing, threats against those that are asking for accountability and consequence management. But that has then resulted not only in the killing of councillors, but also the killing of municipal officials and the damage to movable and immovable property in our municipalities. What is the impact of the threats? And we felt that these are areas that quite often are not having given regard to. It is, what are the broader implications? The first one is that these attacks are threatening the credibility of our democracy. There is a general sense of intolerance, in particularly for public office bearers, more so at the local government level. It erodes what we have developed over years as constitutional imperatives, but also negatively impacts on the credibility of local government, and probably also results in us not being able to attract the right skill, because people are saying, why would we go to an area where we are going to be threatened? Why would we go and work in a space where not only our lives would be threatened, but also those of our extended families? We have looked at international, as we are seeking solutions in the questions that we are asking. We've also looked at international experiences, and we have picked up the UK examples, and that's recent examples, 2021. And in the UK itself, these are some of the comments that are being made by councillors within that context. Councillors demand better protection from abuse and death threats. So even in the UK itself, there is a call from councillors that we are not sufficiently protected as public office bearers. That if you have to be very brave to want to stand for public office and represent your community because of the related threats. Some are saying most of us have probably received some kind of death threat or other difficult visit to our homes. And I just don't think it's a safe situation. So even there, councillors are expressing reservations around the conditions that they have to operate in playing their role as public office bearers. So those are just some of the comments. How did the UK respond to these attacks? Firstly, there was the promulgation of a specific law against intimidation. So intimidation has been outlawed. So intimidation directed at councillors themselves, there is a law against that. But we have also seen in the UK itself a greater willingness to prosecute. And that's the question we often ask chairperson and members, is that tell us instances where councillors have been killed and those, well, firstly, there have been arrests, and we have seen not only arrests, but the successful prosecution of those arrested. If there are very few. And here in the UK, it was made a point that there must be greater willingness to prosecute and prosecute successfully against those that are not only making threats, but that they go further by doing the actual deed of killing. What has also been done is to look at additional protection for councillors, very similar to what a police office and National Health Service staff are getting. Should there be offences of intimidation. But there's also been a call to the media in particular to be more responsible. A conclusion was reached in the UK that many of the attacks are fueled by comments that are either through media platforms or through social media platforms, and agitating things that would then result in attacks being directed. So there are also instances where the media itself contributes. But what has also happened in the UK, quite interestingly, is to allow councillors not to have to publicly give their physical address. Probably very difficult to do in our context, because councillors live amongst people. They are the closest public office bearers of government to the people, but at least here not to publicly make their details visible. We think there are lessons to be drawn from the UK experience, and therefore amongst others that we are proposing, there are about 7 areas, Chairperson, as I conclude. We are saying as SALGA that there needs to be a look into ensuring that communities are educated on the roles and responsibilities, because sometimes it's matters that are falling within the responsibility of provincial and national government, but they are directed to councillors. So there is a need for government holistically to spend more time in educating communities around government itself in the respective roles and responsibilities. Secondly, we are suggesting there is a need for a national campaign on social cohesion that would look at deepening democracy and promoting ownership of local democracy by communities. And we think, unlike in the past, many communities have not taken ownership, not only of the public assets that find expression in their spaces, but also their public representatives. They should be the first line of defense where there is attack. But in the absence of creating that collective ownership, we will continue to have difficulties in the space. And that's the reason for that particular recommendation. The third recommendation, we should create platforms. Whilst we had advanced that it should be done under the National Assembly, National Council of Provinces, we would also want to incorporate the National Assembly to ensure that we continue to create platforms for engagements, in particular with traditional leaders and political parties around involvement with community, their involvement with communities and councillors. There's a role for the NPA and the SAPS, as per the earlier reflection in the presentation, that they need to indeed move with speed in investigating matters, prosecuting those that are found wanting, and prosecuting them successfully. Last 3 recommendations that we are making relates to the responsibility given to SAPS to do the threat analysis. In our view, that threat analysis is not done timelessly. And in many instances, attacks already take place prior to the threat analysis being done. So SAPS should come on board and deal with this matter with the urgency that it deserves. We also want to make a suggestion that Parliament convene a special plenary that would debate on the attacks on councillors and municipal officials, but beyond debating, ensuring that indeed this becomes a matter of national interest, and that there should be a national response to it. The last one, around the cost related to the provision of security, we think that this cost should be funded by the national fiscus, so that it is not dependent on the affordability of a municipality to provide protection in instances where there is a real threat, but they do not have the financial muscle to do so, and therefore respond accordingly. So those are the 7 proposals that we are making, Chairperson, as SALGA, but it's a conversation that we must continue to have, but there should not just only be a conversation, there should be real action as part of the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SALGA, for the 2 presentations. I will now allow members to engage with both presentations. The first hand is Honorable Njaba, Honorable Smale, Honorable Spies, Honorable Peza. Can we follow that order? Honorable Hadebe, Honorable Msima. Can we follow that order? Honorable Taba.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, let me welcome board presentation. And Chair, if you can allow me to close my video party, because where I am, I'm not at home. I'm aware that I must find the network. There is a network problem.
Now it's fine. You can close it.
Oh, okay, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, let me welcome the board presentation and good morning, all protocol observes. Chairperson, in the SALGA presentation, Chair, having successfully lobbied for the increase of the equitable share to local government by 1.4%, what will SALGA be doing to safeguard against the potential abuse of this extra fund by the municipalities? Chair, what specific intervention were instituted in the Ngaka Mudiri Mulima and Mopane and Chris Hani district to result in the reduced audit funds? Also, Chairperson, in the Auditor General's report, it is indicated that loans advanced by the organization to related parties were not regularized, thus incurring expenses on their behalf. Chair, if I may ask to the SALGA, what are the details of this incident and the value of the consequence financially losses to the organization? As per page 143 of the annual report, expenditure relating to SALGA's capacity building mandate amounted to 28.7 million in the previous financial year. However, during the year under review, it amounted to only 5.2 million. What are the reasons for this? What are the reasons for this? During the period under review, SALGA's National Executive Committee also resolved to challenge the constitutionality of the electricity tariff increase granted by the NESA to ESCOM in respect of the 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024 financial years. The case was to be heard on 11 September 2023. What is the update from SALGA in this regard? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next speaker is Honorable Bruce Male.
Chairperson, with reference to Program 3, especially when we talk about the government's local government's outcomes in that regard, and taking into account the state of affairs or the worsening of the financial affairs of local if one should look at the interventions by provincial or national government under Section 139, 154, is SALGA playing a specific role within that space? If we also evaluate some of our disclaimer municipalities or our dysfunctional municipalities, what role is SALGA currently portraying itself in the dysfunctional space of local municipalities? Does SALGA actually have the capacity to assist local municipalities, especially taking into the need of the skill shortage and the to turn around, especially the financial departments of certain of those municipalities? Your global support and to influence economic opportunities and P partnership, more specifically in a space where SALGA operates, what actual have you compiled a report to actually determine the actual success in that space? And if so, is it possible to make it available at some time when requested in that regard? Your capacity program towards municipal officials, and are they accredited training? Do you monitor the actual progress of those outputs? It's very unfortunate when we evaluate the number of killings, and it's not a good situation actually to hear or to speak about. But my experience around the 2019 killings in Limpopo province, because that's where I come from, in Mukopane, when a councillor was shot dead. It came about when a forensic report was actually being tabled within a portfolio space. And when I look at your recommendations about how to curb or what your solutions could be, I'm struggling to find the self-reflecting way in the mirror where we talk about more transparent IDP processes, where we talk about more transparent tender processes, and where we talk about more transparency around investigations processes and holding people accountable. Because I'm just trying to understand why we not bring those type of three questions into the solutions. I understand the role of what national government should do and what provincial government should do in order to make sure people are safe. But where does that stem from? Where does the disgruntledness stem from? And for me, it's always when government A was not transparent enough, or could be not transparent enough in the real issue. So I'm just trying to understand that issue. And if you currently look at the district model that is on the table of Costa, what is your inputs into that? Is your 16 priority papers, did it sort of reach into that space? And what was the impact on your 16 priority papers overall? The margin of success of trying to get the right people to actually understand and maybe implement or listen to some of your solutions. I'm just trying to understand those few issues. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Space.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Just apologies for not putting on my video. I've just landed at the airport, so I'm still driving towards Acacia Park. First of all, Chairperson, just want to start off by saying that 98% of the predetermined objectives achieved may very well be a misrepresentation of the impact that SALGA currently delivers. As long as SALGA is not accepted as the leading advocate for local government, but merely as a conglomerate body for participation in compliance, the real difference that can make on the ground is not going to be seen. That is just a comment that I want to. But allow me to raise the following questions, Chair. First of all, I would like to know which municipalities will benefit from the complex EU project and what are the details of this project. Also, an indication of how many local female councillors have benefited from the Swedish ICLD program. Then, what are the status of the SALGA's NEC court case against the NERSA tariff increase granted to ESCOM? Then, what are the reasons that you dropped from 29 million to 5.2 million in your capacity building and your training expenditure with reference to page 143? Then, what anti-abuse measures have you put in place to safeguard the 1.4% equitable share increase won't be wasted in municipalities? Then, just two more. How have you SALGA addressed or assisted financially insecure municipalities with sustainable business models, revised local economic development strategy, and improved technical support plans? How many municipalities were assisted? Then the second last, what are the recommendations of the MICI assessment report regarding municipal investment and business improvement? Then the status on plans with the Dala Omar Institute. How will this address the rise? What is the status? And how will this address the rise in hung councils, which often results in instability and the complexity of coalitions with frequent political turnover? Lastly, Chair, what recommendations did SALGA have after the assessment report on the alignment of corporate social investment and corporate social responsibility with local municipal development plans? And how can municipalities enforce and ensure that the social labor plans of companies are included in IDPs and LEDs of municipalities? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Here's a proof of life, but please allow me to switch off my video because I'm in a public space due to other commitments, but just wanted to show you the proof of life. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to focus on only one aspect of the report, that of SALGA as it relates to the 23 killings of councillor just for this term of 2021-2026. We welcome the detailed presentation, Chair, as well as the study undertaken and some of the proposal coming from the UK. It's quite concerning, Chair, that in one municipality, a metro in particular, that of eThekwini, you'd have more than one killings. And the number is very, very concerning, Chair. But I would like to get clarity from SALGA. Your recommendation does not speak to what you have learned from the UK. As a response, I thought you would also advocate for the promulgation of the law against intimidation. I understand your proposals that this must be tabled to Parliament. I was expecting that you would speak to an issue of promulgating a law, assisting COCA to proactively start that process. Have you thought or considered adopting such a position of ensuring that a law against intimidation is propagated? The second question that I would like to get clarity on, what do you think ought to be done in relation to this rivalry of informal community leaders or community organization and councillors, over and above having a dialogue and creating awareness? Are there any systematic structural defects that arises out of having such a number of structures, development forum, community informal structures, traditional leaders, and councillors on top of that? Have you looked into measures and ways or possible restructuring to avoid this rivalry? The last aspect, in particular reference to Saldanha municipality, our late councillor Busiso Atageba, who was recently gunned down. And just to give background, there has been 3 attempts to his life. And last year, in the 1st of September, I think he was shot 16 times. And as a result of that, the municipality offered him protection services based on assessment done by the relevant law enforcement authority. Surprisingly, the protection was withdrawn without any explanation or any contrary report supporting such an action. Have you considered taking action or seeking clarity against the municipality for the withdrawal of the security, which led to subsequently his assassination? From where I'm sitting, and ordinary sentiments from the community around and the laymen on the street, is that a municipality must take certain responsibility, because since that withdrawal, the council has written several letters to all relevant authorities, including the council itself, provincial and national, asking for help, pleading for the municipality to reinstate the protection services and indicating that the threat is still real. Would SALGA, are you in a position, or it's not within your scope and mandate, to consider processes that will hold the municipality accountable for this very unwarranted withdrawal of the services, which led to the killing of the councillor? And while you are trying to engage and persuading national to be responsible for additional protection of councillors, has any study or assessment or evaluation conducted in municipality where these incidents are taking place frequently to assess whether or not these municipalities are financially able or unable to support and protect councillors in terms of additional funding? Is there such a report? If not, will it be wise perhaps to consider assessing the financial availability of funds to protect these councillors while these engagements are taking place? Thank you so much, Chairperson. I will submarine in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Msimango.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to Councillor Stofile and the SALGA team. Good morning to you, colleagues, in this portfolio committee. A number of issues that I would have wanted to raise have been raised, so therefore I'm not going to go back to that. But safe to say, two things that are noted, or that I noted in this presentation, is that the organization have successfully managed to lobby for the increase of equitable share, which is 1.4%. And that, I think we must congratulate you as the entity. But also the fact that we have now managed to successfully recruit the CEO to be full-time in that particular position. What I want to also raise is the issue of the AG, and I must congratulate you for the AG for giving, because you have the clean audit in that is the view of the AG. But I want to take it further by saying, and I think I'm raising this because it has been a trend to all our entities as this portfolio committee. They all get a clean audit. But for me, it's another matter to get a clean audit, but it's another one to get a clean audit with tangible results that can be felt on the ground, that are able to change the lives of South Africans on the ground. Now, my question is, how are you as an organization, SALGA, able to measure this clean result or this clean audit outcome with the outcomes on the ground? Meaning, does this outcome have tangible results on the ground that you can be able to say, we are proud of these results because they emanate from this particular audit outcomes? Because hence I'm saying, it has been a trend to say all our entities will come and give us the clean audit outcome results. But when you go on the ground, it's a different story. So I'm saying, can we be able to establish if SALGA has knowledge of whether this audit outcomes is what is desirable to those that are supposed to receive the services on the ground? Because I'm asking this question because of SALGA is an organization that is at the cold face of service delivery. We see protest actions throughout the country. It has been better recently, but reality is there is an outcry on the ground that is out there, and we must be able to make sure that we measure the audit outcome, which is clean, and and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to have an audit outcome that is clean. It's correct. That is what, as this portfolio, we always encourage entities to strive for. But reality is we need to be able to measure it with what is currently happening on the ground, whether it is felt exactly the way it is on the ground. I want to stop there, Chair, for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Mpumza.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you, honorable members.
Good morning.
And greetings to the President of SALGA and his leadership, the CEO and the COO. Chair, the President of SALGA has been crisp and frank around the issue of. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Hello?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Continue.
That was not you. Then there is Christian Frank around the issue of public killing of public representatives and officials in the local government sphere. But President of SALGA, the conflict theory suggests that society and communities are in perpetual conflict, arising from the scramble to access and control resources. Following that suggestion from that conflict theory, you are indicating that there is a rise of mafia gangs who operate disregard of any law to make operatives in the local state and as well as public representatives to be malleable to them by killing them, intimidating, and bringing intimidation threat so that they should flout all the laws, actually strengthening a democratic state and a sound governance. Has SALGA, in view of that, perhaps ever thought of making a formidable recommendation for state resources to be redeployed towards providing mediation and conflict resolution skills, particularly I'm saying mediation, so that this intimidation is stopped at the level of communities in wards and in municipalities, so that would ensure that there is no rise of mafia gangs, greedy mafia gangs, who are directed by poison decree. Indeed, the killing of public representatives is a crime, and that crime should have to be dealt with by the state. Now, with the killing of a councillor in Western Cape, the reports we are getting is that this was not for the first time. Like in Buffalo City, in that official. This attempt to assassinate those two, I'm lifting them, not all of them, I'm just lifting those as a case. It was not the first or the second attempt. And in particular in Western Cape, we're getting a report that this particular councillor, the municipality, I'm sure as a result of the intervention or threat analysis provided by the security agencies, they have provided this particular security to this councillor. As soon as this security was withdrawn, the councillor had been assassinated. Now, is not this municipality an accomplice towards the assassination of these public representatives? And what is it that SALGA has done to this member municipality who has actually, by commission or by omission, deliberately withdrawn a security after having known of the threat to his life, and now he is gone? What is it that the association, so that such a repeat would not happen, What is it that in particular that SALGA is recommending or doing to that member municipality who has done this, so that other municipalities should learn from that, so that that should not happen again going forward? Chair, the report is very clear and is very detailed. But one issue that I missed in the recommendation of the study from London is that of looking at a formulation of a law that would actually, honorably was specific to say a threat, that would actually empower municipalities to provide security and preempt these formidable threats. And that the cooperative governance should initiate as part of their study group that they learned from from London. But secondly, Chair, it is highly worrying that investigations, if you look at the number of these councillors, we don't see that. We say, here is an example of a case of a councillor was assassinated that had been investigated thoroughly and prosecuted and concluded. We see a long-winded dragging of this prosecution of cases. This case of Mzimkhulu Makhado. It's a long thing, but we don't see that. And then as a result, because of this process, we are actually emboldening these criminals to continue to do this dirty work. And what is worrying is that the assassination of officials is an existential threat to the professionalization of local government and overall the building of a local democratic state. And then we would allow the running of local government by mafias. I think it's high time that government must begin with the local state, in the local state, to deal with all these political crimes, and that they should actually be thoroughly investigated and speedily prosecuted so that we deter these criminals from going forward. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thanks, Honorable Director.
Thank you, Chair. I think that Mpumza has covered me on the issue of the killing of the councillors and officials because it's a threat to our aim of our objective of professionalizing local government. So, secondly, Chair, the President of SALGA sharply raised a serious concern regarding the intervention to municipalities, which in most cases do not work. And in other instances, there are allegations that it's used for some political battles. And even on the reports that we got several times from the department, we realized that it's only one or two interventions that works. The rest collapses the municipality further. So in terms of SALGA, what could be a long term in addressing the issue of intervention? Is this intervention really working, or should the government start to look for other measures of assisting our municipalities? Because we've been putting municipalities on intervention. Look at like in Free State, you have municipality like Mesilonyana that has been on intervention for almost 15 years or more. You have Mafube has been in intervention for more than 10 years. But the situation is becoming worse every day. So what could be the possible solution of assisting municipality in terms of SALGA, having been working with municipalities for many years? What is their observation in terms of the challenges of municipalities? And what could be a possible solution to this situation that we find ourselves in? Thank you, Chair.
Very much, honorable members.
Chair, you jumped me. Oh, what happened?
Who did I jump?
It's Honorable Teza.
Oh, it's possible. I don't know what happened. Honorable Professor, I think I jumped you as I was coming down. Honorable Professor.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Honorable members have covered me in a various number of places where I wanted to touch. One that is left for me is the worrying trend of, as the Honorable Director highlights, that we've heard from the AG, that the interventions in terms of support, Section 154, interventions in terms of administration, 139s, are not reducing the number of municipalities that are dysfunctional. So, SALGA, your members are 66 that are dysfunctional from 64 in the previous financial year, as it is. What is a remedial action or remedy to ensure that there is monitoring when it comes to the administration, and there's safeguarding of the administrators, because they're in that municipality where we went with the Honorable former chair in Vereeniging. The administrators were shot there. One was shot in the leg, and so on. And we're hearing that there are concerns about the administration itself not being functional due to that environment, that hostile environment in that space, which will ultimately affect the people as it is. Everything that is happening on top will then happen at the bottom with severe results in terms of delivery of services. Number two, we must never make an assumption or insinuate that we are going to sit here and talk about human resources, those superficial issues about this and that person and what have you, trying to calm apartheid, and trying to find solutions within that. We're living in a neoliberal capitalist society where we are divided based on our means to control the means of production and to consume those means of production. And part of that, the colonial conquest, is to teach society to be based on their minds in terms of the media, in terms of all the available propaganda of the current state, for the people to be driven by profit maximization over the well-being of people. And the Department of Communication here should be the line department to tell us how to resolve on these issues. Number two department should be the Justice Department, which should tell us why are these cases of municipal corruption dragging for too long. And number three, why is it that the police, when they make the arrests, then it is the department that actually does not have enough a bite to actually keep those people in jail? Why is it that in the Department of Justice, we are finding cases of people, of communities that are affected by intimidation based on the projects, not going forward? Those are the things that we should locate as a portfolio committee to say that is the current procurement process that is externalized, Chair, to external service providers within the municipal space, is it not the one that is actually causing those unnecessary tension? Why couldn't we say that, given the history of migration of the Afrikaner from 1948 when they took over, to say that they had the state to ensure that they are the ones that are emancipated. They help the state to ensure that the services that are supposed to be delivered by the state are delivered by the state. So that you stop the nonsense that is happening here, affecting people, families, traumatizing, because Black people are traumatized every day, Chair. We die every day in terms of the indignation that is caused by colonization. And thus, recolonization is the obliteration and the complete obliteration of a system that is obtaining currently in terms of ensuring that Section 10 is indeed implemented of the Constitution to restore dignity, and that dignity must be protected. It must not be something that we said, it must be something that is seen across, but through the state. We need the state to actually drive economic development. We can't have a situation where in Emakazeni then you have a group of people that is rendered to say that they must go into the municipality and demand that their projects are prioritized within their local economic developments. The result of that is the 0% that we got from Emakazeni there in terms of local economic development. And it can't continue. We can't repeat the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The president last time here said, Chair, we're having over 169 municipalities that are in financial crisis. We are having those 66 municipalities that are dysfunctional, and we are having those ones that are at medium risk at 250. So we're fast becoming, everything will be affected. All 257 municipalities will have some issues pertaining to the dysfunctionality or everything. Can they provide specifics in terms of the proposals of legislation, even in terms of the division of revenue formulae, even to the extent of the division of the of revenue? Now, to say that it being their proposal, what are the legislative proposals in terms of ensuring that improves and affect positively the residents who are actually up against municipalities and obliterate a tendering system that empowers individuals and disempowering communities in the process? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. I'm not sure I saw Honorable Hadebe. I see your hands are still up, whether those are historical hands.
No, Chair, I wanted to add something important that I've missed out, if you allow me, Chair.
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much. I wanted to find out from the UK study, what is the statistics showing in terms of killing of public reps and officials vis-a-vis our statistics here in South Africa? We've seen the headlines. More than 300 councillors have been killed to date, 23 only in this term. Is the number alarming compared to other countries? Are we topping the list compared to other countries? And when it comes to percentage-wise, I know you've indicated and raised concern in relation to prosecution of these perpetrators, but do you have a statistic in terms of percentage of how many successful prosecution of councillors that have been killed thus far? Because this will clearly give us a sense and an indication of the agency and the nature of the intervention that we ought to take as lawmakers and public representatives in all three spheres of government to nip this in the bud. That statistics is very crucial, and if possible, the full detail of the outcome of the UK study, if it can be shared with us, it will be highly appreciated. And if it has been shared, excuse my ignorance. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are now, I see your hand, Councillor Stoffile, this is your turn now, and the team to comment or respond to some of the issues raised by the members. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will start, and I know I've got Deputy President Zantia, President of the Shovel, Kola Pakati, in the platform, and I hope the Deputy President Flora is still on the platform. We will deal with some of the issues that are gravitating towards politics and so on, so that we relieve the leadership administration in dealing with the issues that really deal with administrative and processes that need to be followed. Let me start with the Honorable Ceza. Look, in my sense, one of the contributing factors on these killings is the manner in which the municipal structure has been structured in South Africa. And I want to repeat what I've said yesterday in the discussion with Home Affairs, that when we did these laws, we have never thought that we will experience problems that we are experiencing today. We'll experience problems such as individuals who, in our own definition, we are saying council is an open space and public, it must participate. In that public, their business interests. And you created an avenue called procurement, not procurement, tender processes. And then you have individuals that you allowed them to tender. And most of these individuals, they make money out of tendering, and there's no growth on their businesses since they've been given a life to tender and get some millions in the state. And when you look into them, you find them not succeeding. Of course, it will then create an inherent challenges to the system in which the individuals, when the tender is not going on their way, and or official that is officiating in a municipality is seen to be a stumbling block. And that is a threat. And these are the laws that you guys in Parliament, you have made. You are the one that have made laws. And I think, to me, looking into what it has developed over the last 20 years or so of local government, and then thereby this call that SALGA leadership before us was making, that it is important to relook on the laws that we're making and how best do we then deal with these laws. And you'll remember, SALGA leadership has been saying local government has been over-regulated, and many of these over-regulations is what is expected out of local government to do, and without scanning in the environment. And unfortunately, when I looked into these issues, to me, where I'm seated, it's connect back on the quality of laws that we are developing in the Republic. Are these laws meeting the test of time today, or are outdated? And if they are outdated, how do we then deal with them? You'll remember, Honorable President, at one point as SALGA, we argued successfully in your committee that today is the Portfolio Committee on Governance. Do we understand really what is cooperative governance? Or are we using this term cooperative governance just because it's nice to have? I think President of the Shovel would say that it's nice to have. Do we understand what it goes with cooperative governance? And I remember the committee resolved then that the deputy minister at the time, Honorable Pakstow, must go back and come back with a paper on the department insofar as what it understands the department cooperative governance is. Because in South Africa, we are operating as if we don't have a cooperative governance. And if we do understand, our understanding is very little. And unfortunately, when we deal with those questions, we are unable to trace back on our weaknesses. And I've never remember coming back to the committee, having a dead debate, because it was agreed that we must come back, prepare a paper, have a debate on what you understand as a department, what is cooperative governance. Or it's just what, and you'll remember that my argument at that time, President Zuma probably did a very good thing to do away with the Minister of Local Government. And you'll hear many members of parliament and everywhere, they will say MEC for local government. I don't know. But there is no local government in terms of our structures. What is available is MEC for cooperative governance. And we understand what it meant by cooperative governance. It's an issue to me that probably we need to look at. The second issue on the issue of dysfunctional municipality, what I've seen and observed as a person, we like throwing statistics, throwing numbers, X number of dysfunctional municipalities, without going to the taproot. The taproot of the dysfunctional municipalities in South Africa, where it comes from. And I'm told, if you don't water properly the fruit tree, which you must strengthen the taproot, so that the tree, it must produce the fruits that you want at the end of the day. So you don't blame when you produce a sour fruit because the taproot is not sufficiently watered. And as a result of that, it produces a fruit that you have never desired to produce. And this issue, I'm raising it from a perspective that South Africa decided to establish wall-to-wall municipal system. In the Free State, for instance, you've got a municipality called Cooperative. And I like to say this and like to tease members of cabinet and many of those that have power to take decisions. I said, why on earth you take a decision to consolidate poverty and put poverty together and say it's a municipality? And we sit in a meeting and blame that poor mayor. And that mayor was not involved in consolidating poverty. It was parliament that consolidated poverty together and say it is a municipality, and that municipality with no revenue base whatsoever. And you can scream and do anything in your statistics and figures that you throw 163 dysfunctional municipalities. That municipality will never change until such time we reconsider our way of in approaching the issues at hand. That's one part. The second part with the dysfunctional municipality, I mean, if you go to Eastern Cape, the chair of the session will know a municipality called Enoch Mkijima today. You had to use to have Inkwanza, Itsolwana, Ilukanji. The parliament resolved to consolidate them together. Inkwanza, Itsolwana was at the time declared by government that are inviable, are not viable, and therefore financially strapped, and financially they can't and they don't have a revenue base. We consolidated with a municipality that was, its head was above water, called Lukanje. And you reduce the allocation from 85 million, you reduce it to 75 million. So the issue is, what strategic choices do we take as government, as parliament, as institutions that's supposed to help municipalities in dealing with the issues that the municipalities are facing? I must say, under the leadership of the COGTA today, we are happy. At least we are managing to deal with these issues and confront them. And that is why the recent past local government summit, we agreed that SALGA must lead the conversation on the funding model of municipalities, because it has been an outcry for years, the last 20, 30 years of government, 20, 25 years of local government in South Africa. The issue of funding is a matter that has been on the table, but at long last, we can't mourn about that, even though it took 25 years to be realized. And at least today, we are able to put something, and I believe in the coming period, we'll be taking taking the committee into details insofar as what we see emerging in the debate pertaining to funding model without saying replace the 10%, 9% allocation to municipality to 35%. What informs you to arrive to that point? Do we and have we engaged what is the cost of rendering service? And I believe as South Africans, we have never zoomed into that debate. What is the cost in rendering service? Before we put blame in A or B or C, do we understand the cost of rendering a service? In a meeting that I attended, celebration of the MISA, 10 years of its existence, I learned a shocking thing, that what we have produced as government over the last period, since 2005 into 2016, we reduce the engineering capacity in the municipality substantially, because we put regulations and laws that says an engineer cannot work in Mkanduli. And if it works in Mkanduli, it must be paid according to the grade of Mkanduli. Are you paying a skill or are you paying a grade according to grade? And to me, it's things that we need to change, because if you want to attract an engineer in Mkanduli or any municipality throughout, rural municipality throughout the country, you must commit yourself to pay a skill rather than be bogged down and boxed into a size and population of that municipality and the income level. I think, to me, if the South Africa can get out of that box and think about how do we contribute in making sure that municipal system in South Africa are operational, are functional, are able to deliver service, and of course, within the context of professionalization, as SALGA driven this issue of professionalization for some time. And that is why today we are worried about the killing of councillors and municipal officials. Having the country accepted the issue of professionalization and beginning to gear itself in addressing the issue of professionalization, now a killing of councillors and officials, and which works against what we have struggled for the past 25 years in the local government. And I think, to me, within that context, it will be important for us to move within that context. I think Honorable Direko is speaking about Section 139. I think Parliament, it must ask, I always ask this question. You sent, Parliament took a decision to intervene at Mfule. And I was told by my team in SALGA at the time that when the Parliament intervened at Mfule, Mfule was said is owing Eskom something like 800 million and 800 million on water, rand water. Today, Mfule, we were told, is owing Eskom and Water Board over 6 billion rand. And this 6 billion rand is accrued or grown under the leadership of provincial and national government. So the issue of capacity, we shouldn't be just played because it's a municipality and thereby there's no capacity. It has shown the case at hand in Mfuleni under the leadership of provincial and national government that the capacity and management ability, it limited that municipality to benefit and grow itself. Today, its bank account has been taken and it has been attached under the leadership of the other spheres of government, not under the leadership of that municipality. So in debating these issues, it's important, and therefore it goes back to the issue that we are asking Honorable Direko. But what it should be asked, as we intervene in these municipalities, all of them, irrespective of where they are, do we develop standard operating models? And my take, taking Mangaung, for instance, and other municipalities throughout the country, you don't have a standard operating model. Each one and each department goes and they fight over this or that right, control the purse and that, and there is nothing in detail that it guides them in terms of how do they turn those municipalities around. And as a result, municipalities must pay out of their own pocket and pay those administrators that have been sent from national. And they don't have money. I mean, you can take a case in hand in Mangaung, millions and millions of money paid in the administrator. There is a national intervention, and the municipality in the process has lost. So the issue is, as we intervene, what is our interest? I think Honorable Direko has put it so nicely. Some and most of these interventions are informed by political juggling and political posturing, not necessarily about understanding the problem. And we are not asking the right questions. Is that you send that municipality under administration, what are the deliverables? And everybody, when you speak in the public, including those that are managing those municipalities, they blame municipalities, but they are the ones that are taking decisions in those municipalities. And municipalities, I think what the general is correct, that they move from bad to worse under the stewardship of those that supposed to help municipalities in dealing with this. The first thing to me is to deal with the standard operation model and the funding. Unfortunately, in this intervention, there is no funding available or allocated, and that could be covered in your standard operation model as you deal with this. I think, Honorable Mpumza, on your issue, yesterday I had a conversation with a retired judge, a conversation that was organized in the debate and discussions about state of municipalities in South Africa, organized by Dr. Klute of the University of Free State. What it was very impressing on this judge says litigation, it was one of his interests. And he believed that there is nothing that can be resolved without litigation. But now, as he was moving towards retirement, he realized and discovered a new thing, which SALGA has been arguing for many years, that mediation is more advantageous than conventional litigation processes. And this judge is confirming this. And then he says, how we wish that for the past 40 years being in the bench, being representing and fighting litigations, how he wish that 40 years he could have used in infusing the importance of mediation on disputes. Because, of course, you are dialectically correct that communities and environment in which we are operating at, it's bound to be conflict, and it cannot be conflict-free. And you need to design different methodologies of interventions on such conflicts. And to me, that is a very good thinking going through. Let me make an example of a municipality that we have made a mess, all of us in South Africa. A municipality in Bayasnotier, headed by a former acting president of SALGA, Dion DeVos, at that municipality, no income whatsoever, nothing. And everybody used that municipality as a play field, kickball, right, left, and center. And I was saying to him, it's good luck for you to be given a responsibility to manage gravesite, which you have not created. That gravesite is those that supposed to create avenues for municipalities to succeed. And that municipality managed single-handedly to take ESCOM to court on the manner in which ESCOM is bully to municipalities, because municipalities has no protector whatsoever. Anyone who takes podium, he believes is a nice and is fashionable to lament and hit on municipalities, and took them to court. And I'm happy that the court in the Grahamstown resolved that this dispute is sound and is very strong. After all, nobody have seen that dispute is sound and very strong. And the court said they must take it to mediation. So at least we are seeing some move responding on what SALGA has been asking for many years. That disputes on governance, intergovernmental, it had to be resolved through mechanism of mediation and finding a solution. I must say, yes, I think you are right. We need to deal with that. On the issue of killing of councillors, you know that Magaga, a former Youth League Secretary General in KwaZulu-Natal, was killed many years ago, and his case has never seen the light of the day. Many councillors are killed, having reported 100 times to police about the threats that they are facing. And they've never seen the light of the day until their lives have been taken away. And this is a problem that we must confront and we must deal with unapologetically, unashamedly about it, because the pain is felt by us in the sector. And we believe that the committee such as yours, that he has a responsibility to play oversight to us, can work with us on this in navigating the difficult conditions that and the stormy conditions that are faced by local government. More in particular, the officials of municipalities' life that are threatened and their families, and the councillors that are mowed down daylight by criminals in our country without any regard of life. And we are appealing to South Africans to join the South African Local Government Association on its call that killing of human beings in South Africa is a threat to democracy. It's a threat to choice of our people that we fought for, that the South Africa it must give our people a right to choose of their leaders. If they have a disagreement, they must have a better way of dealing with that. A councillor in Saldanha Bay, I happen to know that because it was brought to our attention. You know, the difficulty here is the speed and the pace. And unfortunately, leadership, unfortunately, this is a very unfortunate thing, that local government is seen as girls and boys. It's not seen as part and integral part of governance system in South Africa. So when local government practitioners report the cases in the authorities that must manage and provide security, unfortunately, these cases takes ages, and most 99% of the time are not resolved by anyone. There is no one has an interest to resolve this. Instead, what will be told as I engage with various individuals is that, yeah, but it's a political difference between parties. But does that mean, if it's a political difference, life of individuals must be threatened? I simply believe that our thinking, at least, is obscured. The reality of the matter, life of our people, threat to democracy is right on our face, and it must be dealt with by government, by those that accepted office. By the way, those that accepted that they will be leaders of our people must be in the forefront in confronting the challenge that we are facing. So killing of councillors, officials, and traditional leaders must come to an end. And it can only come to an end if all of us, we can put all our hands on the deck in turning local government around and creating an environment of local government that is conducive to do work, to celebrate and enjoy lives of individuals. And I'm happy, I must say, just recently the SALGA have signed an agreement of relations and working and collaborations with the House of Traditional Leaders to work together, because we are operating in the space where all of us, we share the piece of land that we had to work it so that it can benefit our people. No one, I'm saying no one. Everybody, when it talks about the income, the inability of a municipality, for instance, if I can make an example, if you drive out of Pudukwa, you see a very big, huge house. And most of those houses are people that are deciding to come out of the municipal strip in terms of paying rates and taxes. You can see it in the Eastern Cape as you drive out of King Williamstown towards Dimbaza. You see big, huge houses everywhere. As you drive out of Umtata, going towards Duchwa, you see big mansions. And those mansions are built outside municipal borders. And no one has a conversation about what is the opportunity lost, the cost lost into the municipality when these developments taking place outside municipal boundaries. And how do you collaboratively and cooperatively work as a government to protect the state? I think, to me, it's one of the important issues that we believe to highlight. And let me leave that. I think I've spoken about Section 139 and Section 154. I think I'm not sure if President of the Shovel wants to add something, or Madam Zanthia, and then we give it to our officials.
Thank you very much, and greetings to the Honorable Chair. No, President, you have sufficiently covered almost all the issues, particularly in relation to the killings in municipalities. What I would disagree with is the characterization of the thuggery that is taking place there as a normal conflict that arises out of a normal dispute of this or the other. The issue there is thuggery that is informed by business interests, and it would be proper that we characterize it as such. Thank you very much.
Okay, Madam Zanthia.
Thank you very much, President. I think you were quite comprehensive. One area that I do want to further emphasize is around the inequitable allocation to local government as a sphere that actually constitutionally provides the bulk of services to our citizens. I appreciate that the committee has recognized and commended SALGA's efforts in lobbying for an increase in the equitable share, but SALGA's work is far from done in this regard, and you've alluded to that, President. And just to give a little bit more insight, the SALGA has initiated a thorough study that will be completed in March next year that looks into both the transfer gap, the efficiency gap, the unfunded mandate gap, as well as the equitable share gap. So it will be quite a holistic study that aims to rectify the inequity in terms of the financial resources allocated to the sector, because you're completely right, President. We need to deal with those structural and foundational issues in order to put in the necessary systems to address the capability challenges that we see. That will ultimately lead us to the impact, I think, that this committee and all of us would like to see, which is far more healthier, functional local governments where there are appropriate governance systems in place, and where ultimately residents are receiving the services that they deserve. Thank you.
With your permission, Chair, I will hand over to Lance.
President, I'm still here. My meeting is starting at least later than what I thought. The plan was to start at 11, but I'm still here. President, let me take this opportunity to greet the leadership in the platform, politicians and administration. Chairperson, I've been listening to all the inputs, questions, and the discussions that ensued here. And I was in a way pleased with the questions that were raised. At some point, there were kind of advices in a question form. Why don't you do this and that? And I think we all understand, and you have covered us very well in terms of local government and cooperative government. And that for me begins to say we are positioned very well. We are positioned at a space where we can, together with the portfolio, say we have had the concerns that SALGA raised in terms of killing of officials and councillors. And at the other hand, we have an obligation to professionalize local government, but we have a hindrance, which is this one. And in our case, we would want to say, as I indicated earlier, in terms of positioning, you know, we are positioned very well. We have the portfolio that together with SALGA, we can make proposals and change the pitch. I think why we are to meet is not to blame each other on this platform, but to come up with plans to resolve the issues and challenges that we see are facing us. For example, issues of safety. We know very well that in local government, yes, we deal with some pockets of safety issues and all that, but this function is placed elsewhere where we are not 100% able to decide as an association, but together making proposals that we need to deal with security issues, and we need the department to be upfront in terms of coming handy when we have challenges. I had someone here talking about withdrawal of the security given to a councillor who had threats and today is no more. You know, we really do fill in the forms in local government that indicate how these threats is affecting us. And if it is approved once that we need and we are obliged to get a security, I think it must be both a department's responsibility to make sure that should the municipality in terms of finances fail to cover for that person, why don't we devise some means and say the provincial or the national government gets into that space? Because we know, as you have indicated in terms of Nkandule and other municipalities, that some municipalities do not have enough finances to really cover for security, because we know if you have security, you might have one or two, you need transport, you need a place to stay, food and all that. And it's not possible that a municipality that is not collecting enough revenue to be able to sustain that function, is security forever. And now I think without us looking at others to say, what is it that you are doing? Why not this way and that way? We must devise some means and come together and say, because we are positioned here, why don't we come up with a resolution that says we have had in our meeting, this is what happened, and we believe that municipalities, not all the municipalities that are able to cover for this. Yeah, I think we can do something from that. And I want to believe, Chair, in your utterances in terms of the scope of our work. We are able to work together and assist local government as an association, but we are not given the power 100% to decide on what to do to a councillor who doesn't, who is not accountable. Some councillors are, of course, like that, but they are belonging to parties. And I want to believe that we report back, all of us, we report back, we have our parties taking a look at what we are doing. We've been assessed, and I want to believe that all the parties are assessing their people. If one is not accountable, also it is the parties that are getting into that space. But as of our function to mobilize, to represent, to lobby, we are really happy with that. But the only issue is that the people we are assisting are also belonging to parties, where when we give some mandates, it's not all that is implemented, because parties are also eager to see their policies going through. So if we can assist one another in saying, let us allow local government to assist one another and work together. And when we are in there, we forget about all what is out there. You know, we can decide in terms of what we want to see happening as SALGA, but the hindrance is that parties in government, if they decide not to take the mandate or the assistance that you are giving as SALGA, then we are bound to be failing. And one asked, why are we've received a clean audit outcome and some municipalities are not. I want to believe that if we can work together from this point and come up with means, all of us, we can be able to assist municipalities. Thank you, Chair.
The President indicated, Lance, if there are any technical issues that needs to be dealt with.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson. Indeed, there were about 34 issues that were raised by honourable members. 8 members raised the 34 issues, many of whom the SALGA leadership have already responded to. I'm going to limit myself to those that need clarity based on the questions asked, but also to indicate correctly so, raised by Deputy President Maboa Boltman. There are also areas where there's further work that is required as directed by members of the committee, but I will indicate what those are for completeness. The first one, and also to indicate, Chair, that where there are similar issues raised by members, I will deal with them together. The first issue that we thought should be responded to relates to the question posed around, and there are 2 members who asked this question, on now that we have achieved an increased allocation of 1.4% for local government from the equitable share and conditional grant funding, what are we doing to ensure that there's appropriate use of those resources, additional resources? While the SALGA NEC has been seized with this matter, in fact, as a starting point, the President raised this in the introductory remarks, is that there has been a decision taken by the SALGA NEC to interact with municipalities across the provinces through what is called rotational engagement. So this year alone, Northwest, Eastern Cape and KZN have already benefited from an engagement with the NEC. One of the issues that is specific on the agenda that requires municipal responses to is on financial management, but also spending of conditional grants that are allocated to municipalities. So there's been a deliberate focus to ensure that spending indeed increases, that spending is appropriate, and there is more urgency around particularly spending on conditional grants. In addition to that, there has been engagement between ourselves and the Ministry of COCTA to also look at improving around spending, and there has been agreement on how we would look at structured approaches in supporting municipalities in responding to, in particular, spending. So that is the response on that area. The second question that was posed that requires a response is around capacity building and the reduction in the allocation of capacity building funding. Members will recall that comparatively speaking to the previous year, that in the 2021-2022 year, we had the national elections, and key to the, not the national election, municipal elections. And key to the municipal elections is that SALGA drives a capacity building program. So in the previous year, we did have the council induction program that required extensive funding. And therefore, you would have seen more funds allocated in that previous year that would have gone towards the capacity building of all councillors that were onboarded and inducting all councillors that were both new but also returning to the sector. So that's the explanation for the reduction in funding, comparatively speaking, to the previous year. The next question was requesting an update on what progress is being made by SALGA in the litigation it initiated to seek clarity on who's the executive authority for the electricity distribution function. Indeed, that matter is still before the courts. The update is that, yes, SALGA had initiated this application now almost 2 years ago, and papers have been filed. However, there are preliminary matters that are being dealt with, in particular, the interest of many parties wanting to join the proceedings, and there having been applications brought by these interested parties before the courts, which SALGA has to date successfully defended, and those applications have been dismissed. There are two outstanding applications. One is in the Supreme Court of Appeal, based on the High Court's dismissal of the application to be joined. So we are awaiting the outcome of the Supreme Court of Appeal matter. And secondly, the one before the High Court, Pretoria, the Gauteng North High Court in Pretoria, that is also awaiting a date for an application brought by another party to join the proceedings. So the matter is still before the courts. The matter is still very much alive, and we are hoping that it will reach the conclusion that we anticipate as at SALGA. But we will continue to keep the committee abreast of developments as they unfold. The next question related to Section 139, the role of SALGA, interventions, etc. Similar questions were posed by Honorable Smale, Honorable Teza, and Honorable Direko, all raised related questions around this. Members will recall that we were invited to the Portfolio Committee on the 17th of May this year to present a SALGA perspective on both Section 139 interventions, national interventions, and also on Section 106 investigations that are initiated by provincial government. And in that meeting, we were quite clear to detail SALGA's limited role, particularly on decisions that are taken around interventions. But SALGA's response, which is one that says that as we speak, there are 75 reporting obligations on local government, meaning that there is no shortcoming in municipalities indicating progress that they are making on a range of areas. However, the difficulty that is sustained is that national and provincial government that receive these reports are not using it as a tool to monitor municipalities and timelessly come up with support measures in line with Section 154 of the Constitution. Of course, it's an area that is receiving the necessary attention through developing consolidated reporting mechanisms so that there is earlier interventions on red flag areas that emerge from the reports that are coming from municipalities. So it remains work in progress, but it's an area, if members can just go back to that report we presented on the 17th of May, it would also be a reminder of what we have suggested as proposals to arrest the current weaknesses in the system. There was a question around SALGA's capacity to support municipalities. Our response, of course, is that SALGA is not the only player that is directing support to municipalities and assisting municipalities. There are a range of role players that are playing a contributing role, and SALGA continues to work with strategic partners to direct support to municipalities and using the capacity and resources of strategic partners to direct support to municipalities. So we are not doing it alone. We are doing it in partnership with others. Of course, there are areas where we are directing support based on our own capacity, hoping to turn the tide on those areas. I will come back to the killing of councillors and deal with them separately. I just want to conclude the annual report questions. There was a question posed around which municipalities benefit from the Compact program that we are. It's an international funded program that we are directing to 6 provinces. And the program essentially is a program that is looking at improving public participation in the planning processes of municipalities. And currently in the program, as I said, 6 provinces with 12 municipalities benefiting. The question was which municipalities. So in the Northern Cape, we have Salt Plaiki local municipality and Mthanjeni municipality. In the Eastern Cape, we have Blue Crane and Koga municipalities. Western Cape, we have Oudtshoorn and Witzenberg municipalities. Northwest, Moses Kotane and JP Marks. In KZN is Newcastle and Umhlatuze. And then lastly, Free State, we have Machabeng and Tswelopele municipalities that are benefiting, directly participating in the program and would directly benefit. Of course, ultimately what we will do is we will take the lessons learned through a legacy program and extend it to other municipalities post this particular program. There was also a question around how many councillors, and in particular, women councillors have benefit from the Swedish program. The Swedish program is a program that includes, it's an international program. It includes 13 countries. And of the 13 countries, there are 24 women leaders that participate in the program. And from the SALGA side, for the current financial year, well, the past financial year, we had 8 women mayors or speakers that are benefiting from the Swedish program. There was a question asked around coalitions, in particular, the work we had done with the Dula Oma Institute. Of course, yes, that work we had completed in November 2021, where we have jointly developed the SALGA coalitions framework, which has been the basis for SALGA's proposals towards stability within coalition government municipalities. It is work that continues, for that SALGA continues to be seized with, and members of the committee that were at the National Members Assembly in the first week of September will recall that we had a dedicated discussion around the coalition governments and the work that we are doing as SALGA, both as a short to medium term proposals, but also long-term proposals we have made. So we continue to be seized with work on coalition governments. We continue to want to be solution-driven and driving those areas of solutions that the organization has come up with. Those were questions, Chair, that relates to the annual report. And if I could just turn my attention to the questions posed around the second presentation on the killing of councillors. Firstly, on the recommendations on the UK, we are pushing for those recommendations as well. If it may not have come clear in the presentations, those 4 recommendations that are coming from the UK experience are recommendations we are also advancing. So they are in addition to the 7 that appear on the proposals on the last 2 slides of the presentation. There was also a question asked about how do we deal with the rivalry between councillors on the one end and community leaders on the other. Ours remain a response that says that it is important that there must be ongoing discussions that is inclusive of all role players in the space. That includes political parties, that includes organized formations of both business and civil society or community-based organizations. It must include organized formations of religious groups as well as traditional leaders, as ongoing players in the space where there's ongoing engagements. The difficulty that we have is that because of ongoing engagements and sustained engagements, we do see this conflict arising because it is not locked into structured processes and engagements, and ultimately results in this difficulty that we are seeing across our municipalities. There are a few areas, Chairperson, that requires us to go back and, as directed, look at doing further work on, because it is not details we have readily available. The first relates to, comparatively speaking, are we alarmist by saying that there are a high number of killings? If we compare ourselves internationally, we have not done that work, and it is work that we would look into so that we can compare ourselves with others on the international front. Secondly, there is also a request for information around how many successful prosecutions we have had. It is work we have not done in the recent past. We will update the work that we had done in the 2016 SALGA report, which will then capture also what has happened over the last 7 years. So that is further work that we will do. We would also look at doing further work on exactly what has been the response by municipalities in instances where we have had killings, but also in instances where there have been threats. That is not work that we have readily available. So we would lock that into a process so that we are able to come back to the committee with more details on those areas. There are two other questions, Chairperson, that would also require us to go back and come back with answers. And I think in particular, Honorable Spies has raised quite a few of those, is the incorporation of the CSIs of companies into the IDPs of municipalities. It relates to the work done by SALGA on the LED strategies, and then the recommendations on the MIC's report, which we will come back with more detail. And then lastly, Honorable Smile has also asked around the PPPs, the success measures on the outcomes of the actual report's implementation, whether we have developed a report in that respect. We have not, but we'll be able to come back with further details. So those are the quick responses, Chairperson, on the areas that were raised by members. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I'm sure we have been comprehensively responded to. And unless there's any member who would want to make any follow-up before we can summarize lessons out of this and possible way forward. Any member would want to follow up? Okay, I see Honorable Spies and Honorable Hadebe. Honorable Spies.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, I can hear you.
Chairperson, thank you. I appreciate the responses from the officials and also from the president of SALGA. I just need to know, maybe I've missed that from Lance. I know that he indicated that some of the questions, they will come back to the committee with more detail. I just want to know if the issue was addressed around the how SALGA has addressed or assisted financially insecure municipalities in financial distress with sustainable business models, revised energy strategies, and improved technical support plan. Maybe I've missed that in between, and if so, my apologies, but if I can just find out from that
Other than that, we will wait. I'll wait for the responses to the questions that is outstanding.
Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Chair. I think one question that I posed, which has not yet been thoroughly answered, in the case of a councillor that was assassinated and the information for assistance or protection was brought to the attention of the municipality. In other words, the threat was known, and had the municipality hidden the call not to withdraw security services, the councillor would have still be alive. Can something be done in this regard, whether to hold the municipality as the accomplice to the murder? Will that not be an available option to be paid, so that we do justice to the fallen public servant, particularly when there are clear, justifiable reasons that this matter could have been avoided? Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So it's the hands of those who are supposed to respond. But I would suggest that as we respond, maybe let's start with the Lance president, so that you might as well be closing in whatever issue that you would want to say. Can we start with Lance, if there's anything you would want to say, and then the president would comment and close the session.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, and to the honourable members. The first one is that the honourable species issue is one of those that we will come back comprehensively in terms of the question posed. The second one by Honourable Hadebe, we did indicate, Chair, as we speak, we have not looked into municipal responses in both instances where there have been threats and instances where there have been actual killings. And we are undertaking to do that work, including wanting to ascertain whether there could have been a more appropriate response from municipalities. But in the absence of having looked into it, we are unable to respond now, but we will come back once we have had the benefit of looking comprehensively, perhaps not only in the instance of the Saldanha Bay killing, but also in others that relates to the remaining councillors and municipal officials. Thank you very much, Chair.
President, can you make your closing remarks?
No, thank you very much, Chair. Mine is to thank you and honourable members of the Portfolio Committee for giving us an opportunity to interact with you and the Committee of Parliament. And to say we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Many things that are not good in local government, in government generally in South Africa, can only be changed those by cooperative efforts and coordinating our activities and the space to us. And we really thank for the engagement that the committee constructively with an intention to fight, and we'll sit back and say the journey that we have traversed have managed to produce these results. It is our commitment to see a better government, responsive government, a government of the people that is always available when the people look for help and look for assistance, because we see local government as legs that take service delivery to a destination that the government as a whole is using for such service to arrive at the destination that is set. And we really appreciate it. And thank you very much. And I've seen the minister, Deputy Minister Ben Snamashe, in the meeting. And greetings to you, DM Snamashe, forward for this interaction into the future. Thank you so much.
I also saw him. I asked the portfolio committee secretary to indicate why was my attention not drawn to the presence of the deputy minister. She said the department did not indicate. But all the same, let's appreciate the presence of the Deputy Minister. Our responsibility as the Portfolio Committee is more to do with one, highlighting representation of the people who are not here where we are doing this work, make laws and make sure that such laws are executed. They are normally executed by the executive and then oversee that work. So anytime when the executive has got interest in whatever that we engage in, we highly appreciate that. I think we are at this stage where we're dealing with annual reports. And before we engaged on that, we engaged with the Auditor General of South Africa. There's some expectation that will, in responding to the issues that are coming out of the annual reports, will develop an action plan of the committee. We did get a sense of what the minister has committed to do. So we are also sharing those notes. But now, today, we are engaging with SALGA. We noted, I think members noted, our appreciation of the good performance in terms of the audit outcomes and being an example. I think we highly appreciate that. And I think the president himself did indicate that the sector in which you are, I would say, representing is in a state of flux. The way it is perceived generally is not what we would expect. So by implication, everybody must be keen to say, how can we change the picture? So you did indicate where you are succeeding in doing so and where there are challenges, and equally indicating this is everybody's business, because local government is actually the face of government. That's where people begin to experience what it's like to deal with government. Now we chose this other item on the killing of councillors. I think for all of us, it's an important item. We isolated deliberately so, and I'm sure everybody has learned some lessons out of it. By implication, saying it's an item that must remain a center of focus to see how best we can learn from each other, develop some understanding, whether you call them in the form of MOU, as you have indicated with the traditional leaders, councillors, now is officials, then generally, what kind of message is this sending about our country and our democracy? And I think everybody is actually learning. But I'm sure at some point we must find a way to say, out of all these engagements, this is what we think is the way forward, whether it is in the form of, as you are proposing, in the form of one, what is causing all of this? Because I think we are beginning to get some lessons, as to what is causing all of this. Where does it come from? We must begin to distill that. And where is it taking us to? Will we still have a country in the next 10 years if this trend continues as it is? And I think everybody, from your presentation, I think we will take it home as a committee, we'll go through it, where you promise to make some clarifications and some further explanation. Let's continue to do so. But in the end, we must find a way to say, what are we saying to the country? When I say what are we, I take note of the fact that whilst it is everybody's business, but in particular the executive, whose face at the national level is the president, the cabinet, at the level of provinces is premiers and executive councils, at the level of local government is councils. They are the ones who should actually take the lead. But on behalf of the people, we must ask those difficult questions. And I think SALGA is playing a critical role to say, besides just talking about it, because you represent municipalities, this is the picture that you must understand. This is what is going on. So with those many comments, the idea is that we are all into this learning, but I think out of it, obviously, what is expected from all of us is to condemn what is happening. There can be no justification for people to kill others. When I say others, critically, these are public representatives at the local level. It's worse when we talk about officials, who we said we want them to be professional. Actually, that's another big area that needs a lot of discussion. And for us to be able to be of importance. I think the last comment by Lance, say this conversation that we are engaged in should be a continuous engagement, not only by elected public representatives, but communities who are supposed to be beneficiaries of services that are delivered by us, organized formations, civil society, religious bodies, traditional leaders, ratepayers. I think we should create that platform to make sure that everybody is engaged. As we are indicating, local government is everybody's business. With those few remarks, thank you very much for the comprehensive responses in both presentations. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.